Wednesday the 3rd of March is budget day here in the United Kingdom when Rishi Sunak brings out his 2021 statement. In this video, I'm going to give you my prediction for what I think is going to happen in Rishi's budget. I'm a UK business owner. I've got 600 staff. I'm in childcare, visitor attractions, property. It's a big day for me. I've had only 4 months trade out of the last 12. Oh my God, what's he going to say? Well, here's my predictions. I'm going to share them with you now. So the first thing Rishi Sunak's advising business owners to do at his spring statement is to subscribe to my YouTube channel. That's something that you can do for free. He also said make sure you like the video if you do like it and comment below with your ideas on what he should do in the next budget so that he can really help entrepreneurs grow their businesses. In fact, it's entrepreneurs and business owners that we're going to need more than ever before. So it's really important that this spring statement of 2021 is designed to kickstart the UK economy. Now, I've made lots of videos about this. There's some things for businesses to be really excited about. There is more consumer cash in people's bank accounts than ever before. Some reports say it's £100 billion, others say it's £170 billion. Whatever the case, there's loads and loads of cash for people that have still got their jobs, still being employed. They haven't been spending it on going into cities and doing all that stuff. So that's going to be like a tidal wave of cash revolving into the UK economy. So that's exciting. So I think we are going to get a bounce back recovery. I certainly can't wait to go out to a restaurant, spend money, etc., etc. But businesses have got some problems, especially in the world that I operate in, hospitality and leisure. In fact, on the radio just the other day, I was listening to the CEO of Pure Gym. They've got around 1 million members, can you believe? A huge amount of members. They've got 300 leisure sites. They haven't been paying their rents. Now, that's a huge amount of debt that they've got themselves in because they haven't been trading. I haven't been paying rent on some of the sites that we haven't been trading because you just can't do it. So there's a huge mountain of debt sitting in businesses around hospitality and leisure. In fact, I've spoken to another commercial estate agent that manages portfolios of properties, not just retail and hospitality, warehousing businesses. And he told me 60% of the tenants that he manages for landlords haven't paid their rent. Let me just say that again, 60% out of a variety, whether it's retail, warehousing, etc., offices. So there's a huge amount of problems to come from that. To that end, the government have actually now said there's a 3-month extension to the moratorium, which means that landlords can't do anything to tenants if they don't pay their rent. That was due to end and expire at the end of March. That's now been given another 3 months. It's not going to expire till the end of June. My predictions on that one, although I don't think it's going to go into detail on the budget, will that be extended till the end of this year to give a chance for landlords and tenants to really negotiate. And that's a really good thing because if landlords know that they can't take them to court and do anything, there's more chance for deals to be done. So that's my first prediction, that Rishi's going to say something about extending the protection around tenants in commercial properties until the end of the year. And I think he's going to do that with residential properties as well. But that's a big balloon about to pop in terms of problems because eventually that money's going to have to be paid back. And even though there's been some Supreme Court rulings on insurance, still a lot of companies like ours, we haven't had a bean of insurance money, even though we pay about £120,000 a year in insurance premiums. So there's loads of problems still, even when the economy does open up. So that's my first prediction on rent moratoriums, which gives protections to tenants. I think eventually that's going to be extended first till June, but I think that's going to be for the rest of this year. So that's just kicking the can down the road in terms of problems, but I do think the government are going to say something on the 3rd of March of how they're going to help with that problem. Maybe they're going to contribute to 33% of rents that haven't been able to be paid. Maybe there's going to be grants for rents, maybe an extension of leisure and hospitality grants, specific grants for specific areas, which they've got better and better at. When they first closed down, everyone with a rateable value of over £15,000 up to £51,000 got a £25,000 grant, even if they didn't need it. So I think we're going to see more specific stuff, and I applaud that. I think one of the things we need to remember as business owners is there is going to be some good news, because Boris Johnson, when he released his roadmap to ending lockdown, said we will not pull the rug from under the feet of businesses. So I've got that in my mind when I'm going through my predictions. It was him, the Prime Minister, just a few days ago said, we will not pull the rug out. So I think what he's going to do is an extension of stamp duty and land tax. Now, Now, whilst that doesn't really affect business owners, but what that does mean for business owners, if people are saving 15 grand on stamp duty when they're buying their house, that means that 15 grand is going to be spent in the economy and then flushed back into consumers. And it's great really because removal companies benefit from it, solicitors benefit from it, mortgage brokers benefit from it because more deals are being done and cash is sloshing around because people have an incentive. There's rumours that this is going to be extended for 6 weeks, but in the Times today, they reported it was going to be extended till the end of June. I think that's a fantastic move. I would actually like to see him do that for another 6 months, really to get that second charge of people moving house, because that's really good for the economy. Next, that for hospitality and leisure. At the moment, we're paying just 5%, but actually hospitality and leisure haven't benefited from it because they've been closed for 8 months of the last 12. Now, while that might have saved them over the last 12 months and reduced the VAT bill significantly, I can say that it absolutely has. And there's reports that's only really costing the government £200 million at the moment, which you might think, well, bloody hell, James, £200 million is a lot of money. But when you think the furlough scheme has cost £50 billion so far, £200 million to keep those sectors of business within our economy going is a fantastic investment because that sector employs 3 million people. It's going to be far cheaper for the government to keep on only collecting losing £200 million rather than closing massive swathes of the leisure sector that employs a lot of young people, by the way. So I think we're going to see an extension of that. My prediction is that's going to be till the end of September. I'd love him to do it for a full year, but let's see what happens. Business rates, let's talk about those bad boys. Nicola Sturgeon in Scotland has said that hospitality and leisure and retail won't have to pay business rates for another year. I think it's going to be suicide if the Chancellor doesn't do that here in the UK for those sectors. So I see that we're going to have an extension of another year of no business rates for the hospitality, retail and leisure sectors. That's amazing for us. In our business, we spend £750,000 a year on business rates. So if we don't have to pay it, that's going to give us a big chance of catching up with all the costs that we've had to incur and all the revenue we've lost. So that's a big thumbs up from me. If he doesn't do that and they've agreed to do it in Scotland, my God, I just don't know what I'm going to do. I was about to say jump off a cliff and thought I better not put that in YouTube. Whilst we're here on the business rates thing, I think Rishi is going to talk about this long-awaited complete overhaul of the system. And that's going to bring us into this sales tax where you could be paying 1 or 2% from Amazon and Google because they're not paying for the rates like a shopping centre like Debenhams that's no longer going to be there. So I do think there's going to be a big overhaul of business rates. Everyone applauds that. It's unfair. It's stopping people moving into physical locations. And it's making councils slow to react because they collect all these business rates. The overhaul is needed. I'm disappointed that we're not going to find out what that is on March the 3rd. I really hope he does tell us what that is. I think he's going to kick the can down the road to the autumn statement. But business owners need to know in advance what's coming. That's my opinion. Let's see what he does. We've also found out that Boris Johnson and Rishi Sunak are advising business owners to join the James Sinclair Entrepreneurs University. Did you know you can try it free for 14 days with loads of courses and modules on helping you grow your business? Try it free 14 days, then after that it's only $49.99. That's less, ladies and gents, than a pair of Nikes would cost you. So quite cheap. Just a little thing there. They didn't actually tell people to do that in case anyone calls me out. I've just made that bit up, but I do think it's really sensible advice. Capital gains tax. Capital gains tax is a method of taxation here in the UK. When you sell an asset or property, you pay capital gains tax. There are talks that that's going to be increasing. You've actually really the big one that we want to be looking out for as business owners is what's going to happen to entrepreneurs relief. So you used to only pay 10% tax on when you sell a business up to £10 million in your lifetime. They've reduced that down to £1 million already, and there are talks that entrepreneurs relief could go all together, so you'll be paying the normal capital gains tax rates of 18, 20%, 28%, wherever your tax band is, whether it's property or business. So we could see entrepreneurs relief going completely and just go into normal CGT, and then capital gains tax rising on all levels because the government do have to bring in some more cash. Who knows what's going to happen there? Am I in favour of an increase of capital gains tax when you actually sell something and make some money? Yes, I'm actually more in favour of that than taxes on turnover like business rates and VAT. They've got to pay it back somewhere, so I do think capital gains tax could be something that increases. Now, jobs. The Chancellor and Boris Johnson have also said throughout all of this pandemic that protecting jobs is their big number one priority. Now, they did say in the last statement that the Chancellor brought out that if, when furlough ends, you would get £1,000 back as a one-off grant for every person you brought back from furlough after 3 months. But then he extended furlough, so he said, I'm going to kick that can down the road. When furlough's over, we'll come up with a new incentive. So I want to know what he's going to do to bring that back, because if we're thinking that furlough's now going to be extended, well, there's another prediction while we're here. Furlough was meant to end at the end of April. That ain't going to happen because we know there's still restrictions until at least June 21. So I do think furlough's going to be extended till the end of June. And then 3 months after that, you could get your grubby hands on that £1,000 bonus for bringing everyone back from furlough. But I think there's going to be more employment incentives. There's stuff like the Kickstarter scheme for bringing young kids into businesses, but I think there's going to be a load more because, it's going to cost the government more by putting everyone on the benefit system and all of that stuff. So I do think there's going to be an employment incentive. I think there's going to be the return of at least £1,000 when you bring people back from furlough after 3 months. I'm super excited about that because that's cash being back into businesses that can then reuse it to grow their businesses, and it will cycle round and the government get it back eventually anyway. I think what we've got to remember here, guys, is the government only finished paying off World War II in 2015 or 2005, sorry. So they can afford to pay for things over decades where businesses can't do that. So we need the government to pay for this over a long period of time and not look for aggressive paybacks. And on the aggressive paybacks, I think we're going to see an extension of the Sibbles and Bibbles loans where they'll be paying another 6 months of interest, especially if you're in businesses that have been affected, maybe even a year. But I do think there'll be some good news on Sibbles and Bibbles where they're going to extend the amount that you can borrow. So it was going to end at the end of March. I think they're going to extend that, but also the time to pay they're going to extend, and the interest that the government will pick up, I think that's all going to extend. So I think there's going to be changes on Sibbles and Bibbles. Another good news thing that you should be looking out for, and you need to speak to your accountant on this, is the increases of capital allowances. So at the moment, if you invest in a new car or computer equipment or anything that's capital expenditure, you're allowed to offset some of that against capital allowances, which brings your corporation tax down. I think there's going to be an increase to how much is allowed to be used on capital allowances, and loads of incentives for businesses to invest capital, to buy new equipment, to invest in their business, to get cash revolving around the economy. So look out for the increases in capital allowances for businesses. I hope he does that. That'll be great news. That really does incentivize people to invest. We had Eat Out to Help Out last August. That was hugely successful and businesses were really going for that. But I hope he's quite innovative about this and comes up with something different. So something like Go Out to Help Out. So if you go to the theatre, if you go to cinemas, huge businesses that have been massively affected by this. If you go out to bowling. So I think he'll expand it not just for restaurants, but for cinemas, theatres, and all of those other types of businesses. So I think we'll get an Eat Out to Help Out that's expanded into Eat Out and Go Out to Help Out. And I think that would be a really great thing to kickstart the economy and help those businesses that have been so affected by coronavirus. What happened to my voice there? Lastly, two things that I think we're going to look out for. Is there going to be a one-off wealth tax? Loads of the papers are predicting this. So people that have got assets in excess of £500,000, are they going to have to pay a 1% wealth tax? I really don't think you should do that. It just deters people from investing and growing wealth. And wealth is what pays for jobs. And it will deter people from coming into this country. And right now, because of Brexit, we need to make sure people are investing in this country more than ever. And that's part of the big plan to be global Britain. Lastly, changes to the SIS grant as well, the self-employed income support grant. Loads of people, there's 3 million people that haven't had any of this, because they're directors of their own companies and they pay themselves through dividends. So many people have been affected by this. There's 3 million people out there that are affected by this. So I'm hoping that he's going to do something about that. Lastly, one of the other things that is just to mention again, I want you to keep this front of mind, what's going to happen with this internet sales tax, because if he's going to really change business rates, we need to look at what's he going to replace that huge amount of income that the Exchequer gets to run the country if business rates goes. So there we go. That's my little roundup. I'm excited about this budget. I think we are starting to finally see an end of the road with the pandemic, and there's good opportunities in this country, but the Chancellor and the government really need to support businesses going forward. If I had a chance to tell the Chancellor one thing, here's what I'd tell him. Over the last 15 years of running my business, mate, you've had about 50 million quid from us, from VAT, capital gains tax, fuel duty, business rates, national insurance, employers' NI, all of those cocktail of taxes. It's a huge amount of money. So Mr. Chancellor, can you support us now for the next year, 2, 3 years, knowing that over the next 15 years, you're going to get another 50, 60 million quid just out of my company. And what he needs to do is not what Boris said, pull the rug out from our feet too soon. We understand, everyone understands that the government need taxation to pay all this back and run the country, but they've got to have a long-term view, not a short-term view, or you'll bust the economy forever. So guys, hope you enjoyed this video. If you like videos about growing your business, make sure you subscribe to the channel by clicking here and watch this video. This video tells you how we built a 6-figure business in a pandemic from scratch. It's a documentary. I'm sure you're gonna like it, and I'll see you in the next video. Watch it by clicking here.